Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker. And today, I'm trying to keep up with all the current events that are going on today, but all this crazy stuff is going on. Stuff back home for me in New York with this mayor race that's going on, and the governor's brother stealing money from his dead mom. It's the bombshell scandals are going on. So I'm going to try to cover that tomorrow. But today I wanted to cover something that has been hitting the news and it's been making the rounds. And that is this possible MAGA civil war. Donald Trump and Tucker Carlson, the former news host, have gotten into it a little bit. And Carlson has criticized Trump for his support of for his basically warmongering, coming out and basically suggesting that if we go into Iran, America's involvement with this Israeli war with Iran could result in, quote, end of the American empire. Now, he's suggesting that the move was directly opposed to Trump's America First rhetoric, which Trump said that, I'm going to think about America first. I don't care about everybody else. Carlson is quoted as saying, I'm saying this because I'm really afraid that my country is going to be weakened by this, the war, entering a war with Iran. I think we're going to see the end of the American empire. Obviously, nations would like to see that, and this is the perfect way to scuttle the USS America on the shores of Iran. But it's also going to end, I believe, Trump's presidency. I am 100% in belief of that. Carlson said this in an interview with Steve Bannon, who was also pretty much on the outs with Trump. He's also quoted as saying, the second you get enmeshed in a real war, not a fake one, not a fake war, let's go bomb the villagers and declare success. It's the whole other issue. It's a whole other question, which is how prepared is the U.S. military for a real conflict? And the answer is totally unprepared, scary unprepared, end quote, by Carlson. Now, I don't know how he would know this. I think a lot of people in the United States have lost confidence in the military, especially with the disastrous results that came out of Afghanistan and Iraq. And listen, for good reason. The U.S. tends to believe, the U.S. military people tend to believe that all you have to do is just, with airplanes, with jets, just bomb the shit out of people and they'll surrender. But as I noted yesterday, these Middle Easterners, these Iraqis, these Iranians, Afghanis, they're used to horror and death. We're not. So you could bomb the shit out of them all you want. They're already in the Stone Age. They don't give a fuck. It's when you put boots on the ground and you now have to get down and dirty that we as Americans, Western people, get squeamish. It's when we start seeing caskets with American flags draped over them that we start to question whether these wars are worth it. And none of the wars that were fought over the last 50 years have been worth it. Vietnam was the biggest nothing in history. So in a sense, Carlson is right. And I don't know, Steve Bannon aren't any quotes from Steve Bannon. I guess he was in agreement with this because it doesn't seem like he tried to refute any of this. But Trump was quoted as firing back, as Trump always does, except when it comes to Elon Musk. Trump is quoted as saying, somebody please explain to kooky Tucker Carlson that in bold letters, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Trump posted this on his Truth Social in a direct response to Carlson's take. He also posted, America first means many great things, including the fact that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Make America great again. That was another Trump post that he put on Truth Central minutes later. Now, Carlson isn't the only MAGA person that's going against Trump in his alliance with Israel here. I'm going to quote Alex Jones, and I've known of Alex Jones for many, 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 many years. And as scary as it sounds, a lot of the things that he's been saying, which everybody thought he was crazy 20 years ago, has now come to fruition. But here is Alex Jones, in quotes, Trump attacked at Tucker Carlson for not supporting the New World War is not something any sane person should support. This is the stuff nightmares are made of, said Alex Jones. He also continued, I'm proud that Tucker Carlson is standing his ground against the psychotic warmongering neocons that have brought this world to the verge of thermal nuclear Armageddon. Alex has a way with words, doesn't he? Now, there are also people in Congress. There are so many people in Congress and in the Senate that are just, they just want to see war. They just want to see destruction. They love it. They make money off of it. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, she went on X saying, anybody slobering for the U.S. to become fully involved in the Israeli/Iran war is not America first/MAGA. Wishing for murder of innocent people is disgusting. And quote, that's MAGA Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. She said this on X. She also said, she's also quoted as saying, we are sick and tired of foreign wars, all of them. Now, the split in this MAGA support for this Israeli war isn't just coming from top down. Trump's own supporters are confused by how sending American dollars, weapons, and troops, or potentially troops, fulfills the America First doctrine that Trump promised. Trump was quoted in his Truth Social replies. America First means no more needless wars. It means no more funding to either side. This was a Trump supporter. One Trump supporter wrote in his Truth Social replies, quote, it means our troops are done fighting wars that only benefit Israel, especially when our leadership can stop it in a heartbeat with critical thinking and the right incentives. This was at Real Donald Trump. As one of the longest, most diligent and fervent supporters, let's stop neocons and intelligence mechanisms dictate one more second of our presidential direction. Now, this is bad news for any MAGA politician. I mean, we have Democrats, you have Republicans, now you have this MAGA stuff. Trump lashing out at Carlson suggests that the conservative pundit is irrelevant now, and that just because he lost his TV show, he's not as powerful or as he can't reach the masses as he used to, which is nonsense. He could probably reach more people with his social media status than he can on TV. Television is a dead medium. Social media has now taken over all forms of media. Somebody like me, and I have virtually zero audience as of right now. Hopefully it grows. I'm reaching people that I would have never have reached 20 years ago because I wouldn't have had a platform. So by Trump suggesting that just because Carlson doesn't have a television show on Fox, which would only limit him to about 2 or 3 million viewers anyway, and who are conservative viewers, who are Trumpers. So you're not really reaching the masses. You're reaching people that are already drank the Kool-Aid. But for him to suggest that Carlson is irrelevant is nonsense. If he was irrelevant, why would you even Why would you even acknowledge him? I mean, days after Carlson accused the president of being complacent in the Israel-Iran conflict and suggested that he betrayed his MAGA base, Trump fired back. He fired back in spades. Trump, and I quote, "I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get on a television network and say it so that people listen." So if Tucker Carlson wasn't getting the coverage, Trump just gave it to him. And he said this during the G7 summit in Canada. I mean, doesn't he have more important things to do than to trade barbs with Tucker Carlson if Tucker Carlson's irrelevant? Now, that's up to you to decide whether Carlson is irrelevant or not. But Trump made him relevant by mentioning him, by acknowledging him. He made him relevant by responding to this critique, this conflict. And this is the thing about Trump that gets people sometimes. He tends to fight unnecessarily. Pardon the pun, but he tends to argue with people unnecessarily. He tends to get into confrontations with people and now countries, it seems, unnecessarily. Now, people are saying that Trump's response was a major slapdown to Carlson, who was, as we know, in August of 2023, fired from Fox News. This happened because of that whole defamation suit with Dominion, the Dominion voting booths and all that stuff. Carlson has been accused of also alienating a large section of the network and creating a toxic work environment for the female colleagues. Of course, they're going to say that. Anytime there's a successful white Christian male and he's let go because he's become too powerful, there's always those female colleagues that call him toxic. Now, Carlson, when he was on Fox, he was drawing about 3.5 million viewers a night. And he was able to have a platform for his views. If you look at social media today, you can get 3-4 times that just views a day, sometimes even more. And people are saying that Carlson hasn't reclaimed his status and his power, but he still is relevant enough for the president of the United States, the most powerful man in the country, to acknowledge him. And as these tensions in the Middle East escalate, America's role in the conflict has sparked this MAGA civil war in the ranks. You always have the pro-Israel war hawks, such as Laura Loomer and Mark Levin. And Mark Levin's a Jew, so of course he's going to support Israel. What's happening with these headphones? And there are other diehards like Charlie Kirk and Matt Walsh and all these cucks for Israel. Jack Posobiec quotes, "Trump smartly ran against starting new wars. This is what the swing states voted for. The midterms are not far, and the Congress's majority is already razor thin. America first." That's what he tweeted out. Now, Carlson entered the fray last week, calling Trump complacent and saying that he betrayed the Americans who voted for him. And Trump did promise that we were not going to get involved in any more foreign wars. We haven't been provoked in any way whatsoever. Carlson is quoted as saying, let me get this right, if Israel wants to wage this war, it has every right to do so. It is a sovereign country and can do as it pleases, but not with with America's backing. Now, this was said on Bannion's podcast, as we said on Monday. And he was railing also against Murdoch and Fox News and some Fox News colleagues like Levin and Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity, of course, just like Bill O'Reilly, is a pro-Israel, pro-war hawk. They want to see bombs coming down from the sky. They want to see dead bodies on TV. This is what they live for. And this all started as the Israelis expanded their attacks on Iran on Monday when they struck the headquarters and the state television broadcast, which we saw on TV. If you didn't see it, it's incredible how this lady's doing a broadcast and all of a sudden the studio collapses. Now, as we remember, Trump said on Sunday that the U.S. was not involved in Israel's military strikes in any way. But he did say, and I quote, it's possible we could get involved. Why? First of all, the United States is involved. Israel doesn't have the capability of reaching Iran from where they are. They're using American F-16 jet planes. Now, we know that he is in constant contact with Netanyahu. And he keeps on insisting that a nuclear deal with Iran will be signed soon. He's quoted as saying, Iran would be foolish not to sign a deal. Soon after that was the anonymous, everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran, which is an out-and-out threat to the lives of those people in that city. Trump is quoted as saying, Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame. What a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I have said it over and over and over again. So where does this leave the MAGA people? Where does this leave the upcoming midterms? This is great news for the Democrats, because anytime you have infighting like this in a political party, it means that people, the voter, is going to go for the more stable party. And that's sick to say that about the Democrats, because they are as unstable as it gets. But it seems like the America First people are beginning to turn on Trump. And my fear is, with Trump entering this war, is he going to turn into a new George W. Bush? Getting American troops involved in Iran it's basically going to be a nightmare for years. And as I said, it will cost us blood and treasure for years. There is no winning this war. And Israel knows that they can't win this war. They can't do anything without the United States. You take the United States out of the equation, Israel is finished. And Trump knows that. And Trump needs to understand that we don't want any more wars, any more foreign wars, any more conflicts. We're done with this stuff. But I don't know. It just seems that Trump is brainwashed by this whole Israeli thing. And it's really gotten to a point where you start to question whether Trump is a liar or not. Whether Trump, the thought is that Trump in Saudi Arabia, when he had that press conference, kind of lulled the Iranians into believing that they had a false sense of security. Now, Trump also has issues within his own cabinet. Trump is at odds with Tulsi Gabbard. Now, Tulsi Gabbard is his what is she? She's the director of national intelligence. If we remember in March, when speaking about Iran, she is quoted, and let's see if we have the quote. National suggested in March. Oh, she suggested in March that Iran was not actively pursuing a nuclear weapon, and warned that the theocratic regime is close to having one, but they did not have one. I don't know what close means. I mean, we've been hearing that they're close to having a nuclear weapon for 20 years now. Back in March, Gabbard had testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei hadn't authorized a nuclear weapons program that he had suspended in 2003. So 22 years ago, he suspended this. Trump, when pressed on this issue, and when he was quoted about what Gabbard had said, as if he doesn't know, responded, and I quote, "I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having one." Trump told reporters this on Air Force One early Tuesday during his return flight back from the G7 summit in Canada. This completely throws this woman under the bus. How could you not care what your national intelligence director is saying? And Gabbard, who testified before this at the Senate committee in a closed-door session Tuesday, later told reporters that she and Trump were on, quote, the same page. How is that possible? He just said he doesn't care what you have to say. Gabbard's quote is saying, President Trump was saying the same thing that I said in my annual threat assessment back in March. Unfortunately, too many people in the media don't care to actually read what I said. This was according to CNN. Gabbard said according to CNN. Now, in March, we have the actual quote here. In March, Gabbard told lawmakers, the intelligence community continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and the Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program he suspended in 2003. She also cautioned at the time that the IC intelligence community is still monitoring if Tehran, which is not Iran, decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program, and Iran's enrichment uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is, oh my God, I can't read this, and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons. So it seems like there is a bit of a miscommunication here. And I think Trump is starting to believe what the Israelis are saying more than he's believing his own people in his own cabinet, which is very, very dangerous. And I'm starting to think, and a lot of people on social media and even in the media are starting to believe that there is a denial of reality of Iran's nuclear program. And this is what has opened the rift with Trump and his cabinet, Trump and his supporters, Trump and his former media supporters. So We will keep tabs on this, of course, but we have to continue to ask the question of why this little state in the middle of the desert wields so much power over this country, which, I mean, if Sweden wanted to declare war on Finland, would Trump be leaving G7 summits to get his war council together? I mean, if some of these small little there are so many wars going on in Africa right now that nobody even knows about. Nobody even cares. Why is this one so important? Why is everything that Israel do so important to the United States? It just doesn't make any sense to me. They offer us nothing. But who am I to say, right? I'm just an everyday Joe who really doesn't have much authority on these issues. But what we can talk about today on the man memo, because we haven't done a man memo in a long time, is responding to conflict. And Trump has an issue with responding to conflict because he doesn't like people criticizing him or people second guessing him. And when dealing with any sort of conflict, whether it's criticism or personal conflict, we must remember that you must control your own reactions. That's the only thing you can control. Right? That's a stoic tactic. The stoic tactic is to remember that you are in charge of your responses, not the events around you. The Stoics remind us that real strength comes from dominating our inner world rather than exerting force over the outside world. Epictetus states, "It is a shame for the soul to depend on the body for satisfaction. We achieve inner calm despite life's storms by concentrating on our reactions." We can develop the superpower of Stoicism by determining what triggers you. You got to sit back and just count to 10 and think and breathe. Think briefly about the circumstances or activities that usually piss you off. What are the phrases or things that people do that get under your skin? Controlling these triggers is acknowledging them. You have to face them head on without fear or hesitation. You have to be honest with yourself and say, "Hey, listen, this pisses me off. This puts a chink in my armor. I'm going to fix it." And you got to take a moment to control yourself and control your breathing. That's the biggest thing. And before you respond, wait before acting. Give yourself space to observe and evaluate the circumstances quietly. This gives you room to make grounded decisions, keeping emotions from controlling what is said. Remember, the Godfather always said, "Don't hate your enemies because it clouds your judgment." That is absolutely true. Shifting your viewpoint changes the perspective, not the facts. Reactions are frequently influenced by how we interpret situations. Examining viewpoints and confront beliefs. Right? We examine the viewpoint and we confront the beliefs. And we say to ourselves, can this situation be solved? What good things are you able to concentrate on? We select carefully from all this. And after adjusting your viewpoint, consider options before carefully responding. Because you can't take back your response once you let it slip out of your mouth. As Trump usually does, he reacts with rage and frustration, and this does no good. It's better to be composed. Trump has trouble learning to control his reactions, and it is a process that takes time and effort. Of course, he's too old for this, and he's out of control sometimes, especially with the social media posts. Just like any ability, it takes constant practice. You can progressively increase your emotional resistance by challenging situations and their validity. When you adapt the Stoic idea, you gain strength. You learn to ride out life's storms with grace. And discovering this peace by controlling your reaction rather than trying to dominate the outside world. Take power over your thoughts. Taking power over your thoughts is the genuine test of strength, not control, because we can't control everything. And control takes a tremendous amount of energy, and if we lose control, it could destroy us. And you must keep your composure under pressure. Your composure under pressure allows for intelligent decisions with steadfast poise. Stoic inspired techniques can help you turn a disagreement from a place of fighting into a place of learning, understanding, and inner calm. And that's where the real triumph comes in. It's not about defeating your opponent, but about controlling your feelings and becoming a stronger, more confident version of yourself. And that's the memo. All right, I hope that helps. And let's like I said, let's pray that these conflicts just not get out of control here, because again, I just don't believe that this any of this is necessary. But we'll see, because every day that comes, every day is getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and we're learning more and more about what people really are like. When the pressure is on, we find out who the diamond is and who the coward is, because the coward will just throw everyone under the bus and have other people fight his battles for him. All right, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Be careful out there, my friends. Satan is always busy. Be a man. Have a backbone, because masculinity and common sense are worth fighting for. We'll see you later.